I had just turned 19 and was staying at home from college for the next few months for summer break. My mom lives in the city in the same house I grew up in, but my dad moved into a small home outside the city. It was backed up to the woods, and I always felt so relaxed while I was there. Just being away from everything felt very freeing. Anyway, over the course of the summer, I got the idea to go camping for just a night somewhere in the woods behind my dad's house. I had all the gear already, and I'd gone camping before, so it just seemed like a harmless fun night. I didn't plan on going far out, maybe just walking for a half hour, then finding a good spot to set up, so I left about 2 hours till sunset. I walked with no music or anything, just soaking in the environment and sounds of nature, until I made it far enough out to start setting up my gear. I pitched my tent and got a fire going, then relaxed as the sun set and the woods fell quiet. A couple hours into the night, I went to bed. I had planned to leave in the morning, but when I woke up, I felt like hanging out for a little bit longer. I went for a casual walk and sat by the tent. Surprisingly, the day felt to have gone by really fast. Before I knew it, the sun was making its way down. I packed up my things and cleaned up, then started walking back home. I walked between the trees, having a conversation with myself in my head to pass the time. But as the sun started getting lower and lower, I realized it had been a while since I'd left. I stopped and lifted my head, looking around. I didn't really recognize the area. Obviously, there was no path, so I could have just been walking in a slightly different direction, but something seemed wrong. After an entire minute of looking around though, I honestly had no clue which way to go. If I had been going in the right direction, I should have been home already, or at least to the road that my dad's house was on. Racing the sun though, I decided to just continue in the direction I was going, hoping that at some point I'd reach a road. As I walked, the woods got darker and darker, sending me into somewhat of a nervous breakdown. I was looking everywhere for anything to tell me where to go, but now the woods were too dark to even see anything further than 30 or 40 feet. But then I saw a light flickering in the distance. I got excited, walking quickly toward it until I could make out a dark house sitting in the middle of the trees. I thought it was maybe one of my dad's neighbors, or that it would at least lead me to a road that I could walk along. But as I approached the opening in the woods, I didn't see anything. No roads, no light from other houses, and not even a gravel driveway. The house was old looking too, resembling more of a cabin, but there was a light in the downstairs window that was on, so it definitely wasn't vacant. I walked around to the other side of it, staying in the tree line still, but there were no signs of any roads or houses on either side. Regrettably, I decided my only option was to ask whoever lived there for help. I walked up to the front door, listening for a second before ringing the doorbell. Immediately, I heard footsteps running down some stairs and right up to the other side. Knowing they were probably looking at me through the peephole, I called out to them. "Hi, sorry, I'm just lost. I was hoping you could tell me which direction the nearest street is." There was a pause, then they opened the door. Two men stood there, both looking to be in their 40s and appearing kind of disheveled. One of them took a step forward and looked outside behind me at the tree line, as if looking for anyone else. There was a moment where both of them were quiet. "Come inside, we'll help you out," one of the men said, opening the door wider and stepping aside. "I'm okay. I just need you to point me in the right direction, please," I said, not wanting to go in some random house in the woods, and also not really seeing the point to it. Both men frowned. Then one spoke, saying he just wanted to talk about why I was out here. I told them I was just camping and got lost, but they looked at each other like I was lying. Then one of them stepped out and stood pretty close to me as he looked around at the trees more intently. When he stepped out though, he revealed the room behind him, which only had a small lamp in the middle of the floor, surrounded by nothing but dust. I took a step away from the man, and both of them suddenly turned cold. Their facial expressions and body language just became empty as they stood there in silence before the one lunged at me, trying to tackle me to the ground. Luckily, I reacted quick enough to slip away before the other man got to me. I sprinted for the trees, hearing one of the men's footsteps coming up behind me. But once I made it into the woods, the man gave up the chase, and soon after, the lights from the house shut off. Hours passed before I made it to a road, finding out I had hiked miles in the wrong direction. I told my dad about the encounter though, and he took it to the police to investigate, but we were terrified to hear that the house I wandered into was an old vacation cabin that was abandoned decades ago. Whoever those men were likely used a generator to power the lights and whatever else they were doing, but why they were there, nobody knows. The way they were acting though seemed like they were trying to not get caught. So if they had succeeded in getting me into their house, I'm not sure if I ever would have gotten out.